Hello and welcome to my recap of my pre-release event thing. It's the first pre-release I've ever actually been to in my life. So, I don't know, I wanted to make a video recapping it because I enjoyed myself and actually did pretty well. As you can see here, I went 3-1, although technically because we decided to split. We were both 2-1 and decided to split. The prize, I officially recorded it as 2-1-1 just to make the administrators' lives easier. I don't know, could have recorded it as 3-1 and then just given him the packs, but I don't know. I don't know what the correct way to do that is, but that's the way that we decided to do it. But I did actually win the last match. So without further ado, let's get into the sealed pool, how I built it, what was going on here. You'll see on the right that there is a nice Thrun Breaker of Silence. That is a card that showed up quite a bit in my matches for reasons we'll get into. So here are my rares, sealed, and also my promo rare. My promo rare is the Akiva. It's sleeved up all nice right here. I don't know if you can actually see that at all, but like there it is. I also have the other promo, which is like a nice Exalted Angel, which again I'm pretty sure you can't see properly, but I did hold it up just to know in case there's posterity and I lose the card somehow and die. But yeah, most of these rares are pretty like this. Seeing these rares sort of gives you the exact place you want to be, right? Like you can kind of see it. This is not a complex sealed pool. To be honest with you, you basically want to be green-black, right? Like Vindicator is kind of unplayable because you basically need to be mono-white to be able to cast it. Red Sun's Twilight is not very good and also not like good against every deck, so you definitely can't mainboard it, which means you can't build your deck around it. Monument to Perfection is kind of unplayable. Like you can't do the thing. The format's too fast anyways. Mind Splice Apparatus, similarly, you can't really be spending 4 mana to not do anything. So those rares basically just like I couldn't use. So it was either like play Akiva and try to play blue-red, or play Thrun and Glissa, right? Obviously I had to have some green and black cards. I played pretty much every green card I had. And I played most of my black cards as well. All the ones that seemed kind of playable. Yeah, and so that was the deck. That was the plan, right? That was what we ended up going with. And you can see here that the deck ended up sort of being a black-green, like toxic, whatever type deck. Although I never won anything due to poison counters. The poison counters basically were essentially meaningless for my deck, mostly. And I sort of knew this when I was building because I had the uncommon colorless equipment that gives Toxic 1 when you pay the 1 cost equipment that gives Toxic 1. And I decided not to play it because I thought that I wouldn't be killing my opponents with Toxic enough for that to work. And that ended up, I think, being true. I only ever got somewhat close to killing somebody with Toxic once. And they were also at like 4 life, so it didn't like it was never like really close. I didn't even have like that much proliferate either. I had the 2 like rats. I had the 2 like black rats, and I had the drowning nicker. I was like so. I really just didn't have tons of either. That's about it. So yeah, I mean like Thrun, in terms of the rares, Thrun was like really completely unbeatable. That card is like absurd. You basically just like can't ever kill it. I think it may be the best rare in the set, honestly. It's possible that the Planeswalkers were. There were some people with Planeswalkers running around. They were doing stuff. They seemed good. But yeah, Thrun's pretty absurd. Glissa's not bad either. The thing with Glissa, though, when I drew Glissa in games, I went 1-1 in those games. The first game I was so far behind it didn't like matter that I had Glissa. I couldn't even like attack at all. And the other game, I'd never cast it because I needed to hit my 4th land. I wanted to hit my 4th land, so I cast the green 3-drop to find land 4 instead on 3, and then I was just spending all my mana every turn, which I thought was better. then running out this Glissa that might just get answered by like a. I was playing against red, so I figured they might have the 3 mana, 3 damage removal. So I figured it would just be better to spend all my mana every turn than run Glissa out and to potentially just be mana inefficient and then get efficiently dealt with, right? That's sort of what I wanted to avoid. And then I won that game pretty easily anyways, so it didn't really matter. But the card is obviously fantastic. It's basically unblockable, and it's either unblockable or you have to chump, but there actually aren't that many chump blockers in the set. All the might tokens don't block, and that mattered a lot. Like, that mattered, like, a ton. I think the might tokens actually had a really poor showing for me. Like, when I played against them, I didn't have any in my deck. Actually, I did have one thing in my deck that had might tokens, and it was terrible. Oh my god. That card was just awful. That was like my biggest downgrade that I made in terms of any card that I saw was the card. We'll get into it later in terms of like what my upgrades and downgrades were, but that was that. I played a lot of bad 2-drops in this deck, like the green 2 mana 2/2, and I played the 2 rats. The rats were actually fine. I think they were relatively like doing what they were supposed to do, which was just get in early and get some toxic damage. The green ones like had some utility, but like they really didn't. Like they were okay, they were fine, but I really didn't. If you have a lot of oil synergies, I think they are probably good, but black is not really the color you want to be doing that stuff in. I had this sort of weird discombobulated, like half caring about oil, half not caring about oil, because like I had the colorless Ichor Plate Golem that cures like the oil lord guy, and he was like pretty good actually, because I had the other colorless uncommon that makes oil, the Atraxis Skitterfang, and that card was fantastic, which we'll get into in a bit. Yeah, that was the deck. It did perform okay. I actually lost my first match, and I talk about the removal before I get into the matches. This is all the removal I had. I had Anoint with Affliction, 1 Drown with Ichor, and I actually splashed a Surgical Skull Bomb. This was probably enough removal, I think. You're probably not going to do like a ton better than this in most like drafts, just generally. I think splashing the Skull Bomb was worth it just because it was low cost. I only played 1 island in a Terramorphic Expanse. I only played 2 sources, which again is less than you normally would if you were trying to splash something. But because there's a buyout on this, it's so much less of a like, and you can just like put it on the battlefield. You can play it from your hand and be like, okay, am I going to draw this land or am I not going to draw this land? And if you think you're not going to get there, then you can just cycle it. And it's not the best to like just pay 2 to cycle a card, but I don't know. It's better than not having access to removal in some games. And it did come up a couple of times where I don't actually know if I won a game that I used the activated ability on it to remove something. I don't think that I did. I don't know. Anyways, the other 2 removal spells were predictably fantastic. Drown Ichor was great. I actually kind of think Anoint with Affliction performed similarly. Exile wasn't especially relevant, but it did. It was okay. I don't know. My take. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a tough situation, right? You only have this, and honestly, this isn't bad. Like this, at least the removal that I did have was good, like really solid. I got none of the green removal spells, none of the bites or fight spells, which really my deck really could have used those. My deck would perform much. I think honestly, I would have done a lot better if I had those in my deck, but I just didn't. I didn't open them, so it is what it is. All right, let's get into the matches. Thrawn making another appearance on the images here. It's a repetitive theme. So my first round was my only loss. I lost to a red-green aggro deck, and essentially I just got stomped. My opponent went like 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, and on the play, and then I was on the play in game 2. I had to take a mulligan to 6, and because I had a 1-lander, and then he went, I think, just like 2, 3, 4 again, and I just basically didn't. My deck had a decent number of 2-drops, but he just had he had the red combat trick, which looks fantastic. The 2-mana +3/+1. Basically, like you draw a card. That card was really good. Not a surprise. That card looked really good. It played really, really good. It Yeah, it just ran me over. Like I just basically never had a shot. He had the Gruul rare, which my third opponent also had. That that can like pay, that has like 5 whale counters on it, and you can pay a bunch of ways to remove whale counters and pump it and do all kinds of stuff. It's basically like unkillable. The thing's like really strong. I do not think it is as good as the run, but I think it's very strong. Yeah. So my second round was a bye. My opponent dropped, but didn't like tell the tournament people. So I just was sitting there for like 10 minutes until I had to go tell the judge that like I don't have somebody, and they were like, "Yep, all right, you get a bye." So nothing interesting there. Though, like sort of like a kind of a tough first pre-release experience, right? Like you get stomped in round 1, and then your second opponent just doesn't show up. So I'm just sitting there, just doing like, I'm like, oh, am I just gonna hate this? Turns out no. So I get to round 3. And I played against a blue-white artifact deck. The deck was also splashing the Kaito Planeswalker. He was and Kaito was great. Kaito was fantastic, just because like you get to activate him twice sometimes. It does cost you stuff to activate him the second time, but yeah, and we'd been playing that wrong. I don't know. There was a lot of like incorrect game rules taken during that second match, where like we both just kind of like missed a bunch of the triggers and stuff, and it was fine. Mostly, I think it benefited my opponent when I was like, because like the first Skrillo's Hive, he attacked immediately, and I didn't catch that, which was like my own fault. I forgot the token didn't have haste. But yeah, and then I actually got like, it didn't end up mattering because I won the game. Like it was game 3, but yeah, there was some stuff where I was like, oh, I messed up and didn't catch that. But it was all okay. So yeah, that match progressed like this. Essentially, I won the first match pretty quick and convincing. I played like 2-drop. I think I was on the play. No, I was on the draw. I think I was on the draw every single match. I don't think I won a die roll even one time. Yeah, I never won a die roll. I was on the draw in all my matches, and so all my wins, I won the first match on the draw, and then lost the second one on the play, I think. Or lost the second one on the draw, and then won the third one on the play. So my 2 actual wins followed the same pattern. So I won that first match. It was pretty quick, and then the second match I just got completely annihilated by like the artifact package, and then he played the Basilica Shepherd, which makes the 2 mites. That card did seem pretty strong, but again, like the mites really didn't impress me. They were basically blanks, a lot. They were blanks. So like Skrillov's Hive, I don't think Skrillov's Hive is good at all. I thought that card was going to be good. It doesn't look like it's good. It looked like you're just gonna lose, I think, if you cast it. Like he cast it on 2, and I was like, wait, I don't care, because your things can't block. So we're just gonna race, and I'm gonna win because I'm playing like actual cards, and you're losing a life every turn. And it's like, it takes way too long for them to get lifelink. Everything on Earth blocks them. You can't do anything with the mites. Yeah, the mites were really, really not impressive to me in any of the situations they were created. They basically just didn't do anything. If you have artifact triggers, which his deck did, he had 2 of the blue, like the 1 blue rare that like makes all your stuff artifacts and triggers like loots when your artifacts attack and stuff. It was a cool deck. I don't think it was like especially fantastic or well positioned. Like I just think blue is not well positioned at all in this meta. Blue is too slow. I think it does as I feared have a problem where it doesn't have things that keep it in the game enough to play a controlling game. Like a control game doesn't seem like it's really possible for blue in this format. So it doesn't seem like blue's going to be able to do anything. Because that was sort of what I was banking on. I was like, well, if blue can play controlling, this one rump's going to be fantastic, and then you can like hold up stuff on 2. No, you're just not. You're just going to get outclassed too quickly, I think. People are going to get under you too easily, and there's almost nothing you can do, I think, if that happens. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen if draft is different than sealed as well. Sealed might be a little bit of a different beast. Yeah. So then I won that match, and then went on to match 4, where we were playing the Thrun mirror. I believe that we cast Thrun the same number of times, so it was all evened out. But yeah, I mean, so game 1 of that match, I won pretty quickly. I just kind of ran him over. I went 2-drop, 3. So he passed. Yeah, he didn't play a 2-drop on 2 on the play, and then I played 1, and then I played the Vorak on 3 and missed. I missed a land. So that was when I played the Vorak instead of Glissa, because I was like, I need land 4, and then I missed. And then I drew a land off the top anyways, so whatever. Like, I put 4 on the bottom and then drew land, so I kind of found me a land in some ways, just didn't draw me a card, which, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Yeah, and I just kind of was able to take control of the game. I didn't have much interaction, so I kind of needed to just get on the board early and press my advantage, and that's what happened in that game. I really took his life total down quickly. I played the 4-mana 4/4 toxic 3 guy in green, which was really, really good. You probably never, like, when I saw that card, I'm like, I'm probably just never kicking this card ever in this format, huh? Like, you're probably just always playing it on 4. It's really hard to find a situation where you're going to kick it because you just need to get on the board early. I don't think I cast Thrun in that game. I don't believe that I did. I won a lot of games without casting Thrun, so I won as many games without him, I think, as I did with him. Yeah. He only mattered in, like, I think 2 games. Something like that. So yeah, that's kind of it. The second game, I got kind of obliterated. The red-green rare guy came back, and he was with a vengeance and whatnot. Yeah, was able to destroy a bunch of my stuff and whatever. In game 3, I looked like I was going to lose because he went red-green rare into Thrun, and I was like, oh. But I had the big green, like, uncommon equipment from Mirrodin guy, and I also had a Traxxas Skitterfang on the battlefield, so I was just making this, like, 6/6 flyer every turn, and eventually just, like, that was enough to win. I think I probably would have lost that game if my opponent had realized that Thrun has indestructible on his turn, because he just wasn't attacking me with it, and I was like, what? I guess I did have a 6/6. I don't know, did I have a 6/6? No, my 6/6 was tapped, so I don't know. Maybe I did have a 6/6 and he just couldn't attack into that. I don't know. Either way, probably should have been attacking with that. Because it just doesn't matter. Like, it couldn't block ever, so it just didn't matter. But yeah, so that was really good. And I did win, and I won that third game. So, like, technically, so what really happened in terms of, like, the prize stuff is that I agreed to split after we had split games 1 and 2. So I was on the play in game 3 and still agreed to split it. People will tell you that that's a minus EV decision. I will tell you that it was a positive decision from a global equity standpoint in terms of, like, I don't really care that much. Like, I was more happy to just have to feel like I got something out of to feel like I got something extra out of the experience than I would have, like getting that far and then going home and just not having anything at all would have been a little tough for me. Like, I would have been sort of, like, sad. So I just kind of wanted to mitigate that. I feel great anyways, so I'm happy with my decision there, despite the fact that it went the way that could have been, that people would argue was bad. And I think I lose game 3 a lot, right? Like, if I don't draw, like, exactly a Traxxas Skitterfang off the top, I think I lose that game pretty much every single time. So I don't know. I think I was actually, like, pretty lucky to win game 3. So my calculation was that I think my opponent's deck was fairly similar to mine, except he was playing red, so his curve was able to be better, right? So I was kind of just scared that I was just going to get run over. I didn't think my deck was... I was playing a lot of cards I wasn't super fond of. And that's it for the matches. So let's get into some cards that impressed me. Atraxa Skitterfang, as I've mentioned a couple of times, this card was just an absolute house. It basically won me like 3 games by itself, I think. Like, this thing was really strong. Like, this thing is like, it goes in any deck. You don't need to have like oil counter synergies for this thing. It just needs to go, you just put it in your deck and it's just fantastic. Because when you're attacking with this, your opponent's like, okay, I guess I'll just never be able to block your things. It felt like Steel Seraph. It really felt like Steel Seraph. Like, I was like, I played it and I was like, oh, I'm literally hitting you for like 6 this turn, and you had nothing you could do about it. And it really just took over games. It was really phenomenal. And also Testament Bearer. So Testament Bearer I thought was like stone unplayable. This might have been like a product of Sealed as opposed to Draft, where like this card like was actually like not the worst card of my deck. It did a decent amount of work. Like, it kind of traded with most things. There aren't a ton of 1 power creatures that matter. Like, you're never trading with a Might, but like, whatever. Like, the Mights suck. So you have other stuff that can block the Mights because because the Mights are so terrible. This thing just like doesn't need to be able to block them because you have other things that can block them. And it does get you a card. It gets you decent card selection. And it dies. Like, it does die quite a bit. Like, you're happy to trade it for like their 3/3, you know, and that came up. So like, I think this was like super decent. It was super playable, and a card that I thought was not going to be playable. So I still probably wouldn't recommend picking this highly or anything, or like playing it like unless you have to. Like, I had to play it, but it certainly didn't do nothing, which is kind of what, like, when I put it in, it was literally the last card I put in my deck, and I was like, am I really going to play this? And I was like, I'm going to play it. And yeah. So Gruul did impress me. I only played 3 matches technically, but 2 of the matches were against Gruul, and the Gruul decks were really good both times. So be advised that Gruul might actually be good in the format, in Limited. I do think oil counters are the place to be, and Gruul is a good place for oil counters. Probably the best oil counter deck. So I think that Gruul is certainly going to be good in the format, and that's just true. All right, so some cards that didn't impress me. Stinging Hivemaster 2 and a black guy. This card was awful, terrible. When I played this card, I was like, oh my god, this is just like the worst card I've ever seen in my life. This card is so bad. I put it in my deck because I didn't have sort of for curve considerations and other stuff. I honestly think I probably should have sideboarded it out for the Sheoldred's Edict. Like, I think I probably should have, like, I had that Edict and I didn't play it as like a removal spell because I was like, I think I have just enough removal that I don't have to play this, and it really sucks. But like, this thing was like absolutely like a complete blank. Just like every 2-drop blocks it and doesn't care. Like, again, they give you a Might and they're like, whatever, who cares? It's a Might. It's not going to do anything. You're not going to do anything with it. And they're right. I'm not going to do anything with it. Mights were awful for me, and they were awful for my opponents. They did nothing. Mights basically just did absolutely nothing. So like this is like a small sample size thing where like the decks that the deck, of course, this is not a Might deck. The green black is not a deck that cares about Mights anyways. So like maybe in black white this card is like okay. It's not good in blue black. Definitely not good in blue black. It's not good in green black, as I found out. And I don't think it's good in red black, because it's just a 3/2 for 3. That, yes, it does. When you sacrifice it, it turns into a Might that you can also sacrifice. But that's not good. That's not where you want to be. It doesn't have like a counter on it at all. I don't know. I think this card was pretty terrible. In Predation Steward, I played 2 of these. This green 2-drop, and I was like, the reason I played them is because I had to. Like, I needed 2-drops because the format. I knew the format was going to be aggressive going in, and that was completely correct. It was an extremely aggressive format, and you needed 2-drops very, very badly. So I did play these, and I was happy that I played them. But man, the ability that the text on the card just doesn't matter. Like you're almost like paying 3 mana to activate this is something that you almost can't ever do because otherwise you're just doing nothing for that whole. Like you have to be killing your opponent, and it just is so. It's so hard to get to that amount of mana that you're willing to just pay that to do this thing. It just. This card was going to have some some more upside. It's not as good as I think I initially thought it would be. I thought even when I put it in my deck, I was like, this is going to be like okay. No, it was like kind of bad. It was kind of not great. When I played it on 2, I was like, the white 2-drop with Toxic 1 in its first strike on your turn did live up to the hype. That card was very good for my one opponent that cast it. When they cast it, I was like, yep, that thing's going to hit me. There's nothing I can do to prevent this. So. And same with the white combat trick, that was also good. Yeah, so like the sealed format was not slow. It was not a typical like sealed, you can sit around and do nothing, whatever. So, all right, so let's talk about some takeaways. Like I've said, the format is fast, and blue for that reason seems incredibly out of place. Blue just didn't seem like it was strong. Like there's my opponent played blue white, which is the artifact deck thing. I don't think that wasn't impressive to me. The artifact package. Yes, when you can snowball with it, it's great. But the problem is if you're ever behind, he just couldn't do anything. Like he was behind, like he was on the draw, and I had like a 2-drop, and he was just kind of like, okay, I fold. I just lose. Like he played Scroll of Side on 2, and I was like, oh. I just won the game on the spot when that happened because there was no way he was going to be able to get me corrupted in that spot. I was just too far ahead. There was just no way. I went 2-drop 3-drop and it's just like there was no coming back from that from my opponent. Black black's going to be pretty much unplayable for me I think in draft because its common depth. Aside from its removal, is incredibly low. It basically has nothing good. there's no black common that I'm like, oh yeah, that's really fantastic. Like the 2-drop flyer guy, which I didn't actually see at all, is probably up there, but you have to sort of want what it's doing, which is to be poisoning your opponent. And I actually kind of think that poisoning your opponent is not possible. I think that it's not right. I think it's just never happening. That was my play experience. Was this is literally even in a black-green deck. I just was never even close to that being a consideration. So I'm sure you can build decks, especially in draft, that are more tuned in that way. But I think it's going to be a very small minority of decks that are trying to do that type of thing. Oil counters definitely seem like where you want to be. So red, green, and black, or red and green specifically, seemed to be very strong. White, of course, also seemed very strong to me. It's sort of doing its own thing. You can play it with red. I think that's probably fine. You probably don't want to be doing the equipment thing. I don't think I saw any of the equipment ever at all. So that was sort of pretty expected. Yeah. I would also say that Corrupted is not automatic at all. Especially in sealed, where your decks are more discombobulated, getting your opponent Corrupted is not a guarantee. It takes a lot of work to do that. It doesn't just happen. You don't just get to have it be turned on whenever you want. I think white is probably good enough at it that yes, you can do it, but it certainly didn't seem to me to be trivially easy to do. I sort of thought that it was going to be easy enough to do that you would get it in every game. I don't think you're going to get it in every game. I think you're going to get it in even when you're trying to do it, even if your game plan is all right, I'm going to get my opponent corrupted. I think you're only going to be able to do that in 80% of games, max. And I thought it was going to be if I wanted to do this, it's going to be every game. It's not going to be every game. you're gonna lose to a lot of stuff. So yeah, I mean, and my last takeaway is sort of it does kind of feel like a stars and scrubs format. There are a lot of cards that set themselves apart from the other cards, like throughout like the rarities, and the distinction between the good cards and the bad cards is pretty large. It's a pretty large gap. The good cards really are good, and the bad cards are kind of like extremely like don't impact the game really at all. You just kind of need to play them so that you're not getting run over. Is sort of what's happening. And that's it for me. That's my takeaways. It was a fun time. First time I've ever done it. I'm likely to do some sort of pre-release again. I don't know if I'll do another Phyrexia one. It was not the most expensive thing ever, but I don't exactly want to be spending tons of money all the time. Kind of nice to just do it once and be over with. But if I get in the mood, like next Wednesday, maybe, I don't know, I'll think about it. Honestly, if I were doing it again, it'd be next Friday, I guess. So, I don't know. I'll think about it, but I think I'm probably gonna tap out for this cycle. And it was fun though. I enjoyed it certainly, and I'm looking forward to doing some more again in the future. So, thanks for following this journey that I've been on, and see ya.